Hello, I'm Sophiralou and welcome to my channel.
Hello guys and welcome to this week's video. This week's video is going to be a little bit different. I am going to show you a mashup of all the footage from Scotland Expo and tell you kind of what it's like behind the scenes at a convention. If you've always wanted to do a convention, or if you've always wanted to know what it's like to do conventions, I will try and list as much as my tips as possible and to show you exactly what I do to have fun at conventions. And I've been doing them for quite a while now and I find them a lot of fun and so satisfying, so I thought I'd share my tips for conventions. So the first thing you do is obviously travelling and setup. Travelling and setup probably for me is the most stressful part of conventions. As well as the lead up, you are spending so much time, when in the lead up to a convention you spend so much time getting prepared for a convention, but actually getting to the convention can be quite stressful at times. Mainly because the actual travel journey there can be a little bit long-winded. Luckily my amazing helper drove us there and we got to the convention in a nice early time, so we were able to set up promptly. So what I'm using here are display grid cubes. They are actually called Safco. You can get them, they're actually kind of like shoe organisers. You can get them in grid format or in a plain flat format. The format I'm using here, they're actually much lighter than the wire grid cubes, and I do recommend them because it does take weight off your actual suitcase and your shoulders. The next thing obviously is the hotel room. Now, travel, accommodation and table costs are the thing that is going to be the most expensive for your convention, and you want to kind of try and keep these costs low. So I always recommend trying to use an Airbnb, or if you've got a few friends, share a hotel together. Travel costs, you can always get them, try and get them within deals. Sometimes I end up just taking the cheapest coach that I can just to keep the costs down low, because the lower your costs are, the lower the money you have to make back before you break even on the convention. Having said that, make sure you always have a float on you, and do not be disappointed if you only just break even at a convention or fail to break even. Every convention you do is a learning curve and you will get better and you will improve. So I have a badge maker and my own printer, and because I hadn't managed to finish enough stock for my badges, what I did was I took my badge maker with me, and this is an enterprise badge maker. And the thing that's handy about this is I can change the badge size if I want to. It's still a learning curve, I'm still trying to get better with it, but it is an awful lot of fun to make these. It can be quite stressful, but if you've got a good TV show on, you can just go ahead and make it. But badge makers can be quite expensive. Next is tableware. Now tableware, I always try and make sure I'm wearing a nice outfit, but my friend had made us these amazing Reese and Cyrus cosplays from Animal Crossing, and she made them for this convention, and we were yeah, we're gonna wear them all weekend, and it was just too warm. Which leads into my other thing: make sure you've got plenty of water and make sure you've got a packed lunch on you as well. Convention food can be quite expensive, or sometimes they don't have food at all, and if they have water or drinks, they can be quite expensive. So make sure you've got a nice amount of bottled water on you. Make sure to take regular breaks from behind the table as well. If you've got a table helper, use the time and take turns behind the table. I don't really like to leave my table, but I only leave it during the quieter moments. This is just so that I can stretch my legs, because sometimes when you stood behind a table, you're stood in one spot all day, and I actually prefer to stand up than sit down. I only tend to sit down when I'm doing commissions, but I won't do commissions unless I've got a helper, because that takes me out of interacting with people, which is something I see happen quite a lot at conventions. And you do get people that are too nervous to speak to you, or too nervous to ask a question, or don't want to interrupt you while you're doing your work. So I always recommend to be smiley and polite, and always be you, be yourself. The great thing about doing conventions is seeing everyone's amazing setups. One of my goals is I always look at like the amazing Jellybees store. And Jellybee is a really good friend of mine, and we've known each other for quite a while, and we've been doing conventions for quite a while. So it's amazing to see how much she has grown, and her channel has grown, and she is just such a wonderful person. And if you ever get a chance to meet her at a convention, I do highly recommend it. And I've also shown a few other people, I think this is slightly later in the video, of tables which are just literal goals. Like, they have worked so hard and their work is absolutely stunning, and I do recommend checking them out. One of the things I do actually enjoy is just meeting people and meeting like-minded artists. Everyone inspires each other, and that's why I like looking at everyone's displays to see, okay, how could I improve my display without actually stealing anyone's ideas. Everyone uses the grid cubes, and we also have like wire display units. I like at people's tables that are very clean and very organised, because my table's always chaos. But use everyone as inspiration and create a community within the convention, because that's what we are. We are a community. You get to meet amazing cosplayers, you get to meet people who are creative in amazing ways. So my other tip is have fun. Don't be afraid to speak to people, because that's the best thing about speaking to people who also interact about your favourite fandoms, or you get to speak to people about something that you wouldn't normally speak about, and that is brilliant, really, because you never really would get that out of anything else. My other tip is, if you're worried about how much stock to take, I always take more than necessary, because I'm a terrible human being and I like carrying too much weight. Now, I always take a little bit more than I anticipated. I tend to take less of the prints I feel that won't do as well. But it always tends to be that the prints I think that won't do as well do better than I anticipated, and I'm like, I'll have to make a note of that so then I know what to print better next time. But each convention is different, so you can never predict what stock's going to do well and what stock isn't going to do well. So I always like to have a variety. Make sure you've got smaller, lower priced items, so that then you've always got something for someone who doesn't have as much. And as well, then you've got your higher priced items, because if all you've got on your table is very expensive prints, sometimes people don't have enough money to be able to buy something, so having a good mixture like stickers and badges is always helpful. But it's understandable that not everything is able to, you know, it's all about making sure that you keep your costs low, and always making sure that you, as well as quality, that you have quantity as well. So I hope that these tips have been a little bit helpful, and that you've enjoyed seeing the footage from Scotland Expo. I thought it was really important to use the footage to explain about my experience at conventions and explain what it's like actually doing them. And as always, by the end of it, you're so tired, you just really want to sleep. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and maybe like, comment and subscribe if you wish to see more content. I will be at JCon next, and as always folks, stay creative.